There we go.
Okay. We are on air. Jonathan, can you see my screen? Just as a quick
I
double.
cannot yet, no.
Okay, that's okay. We made some
It-
assumptions. We made
yep,
some assumptions, but
we're the first presentation post Ari's
yeah.
wonderful kickoff there, so we're kind of feeling out the
Yes,
ropes here.
yes, absolutely. Can you see it now,
I
Jonathan?
can, yes.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, welcome to the first session of HawkSearch Insight 25, the virtual customer summit. That was a fantastic and insightful keynote by Mr. Ari Khan. I'm sure you all learned something very valuable regarding agents and AI and how the two are different and what's going to be important moving forward. But I am really excited for this session for a few reasons. One, we have a fantastic long-term partner joining us. And two, we get to see a demo of his live site using hybrid search with the voice of HawkSearch. And with that in mind, Jonathan, do you mind giving us an introduction?
Yes, of course. So my name is Jonathan Meyer. I am one of the senior solutions engineers for the Bridgeline team. I work a lot with Kyle and the sales team and the CSD team, uh, doing demonstrations, providing technical scoping, involved in a lot of the facets of the Hawk Search functionality, and really excited to be here today. Really excited to be here with Keith from Prestwick. Keith, why don't you go ahead and give an introduction as well?
Hey, morning, everybody. I'm Keith Bergstrom. I'm president here at Prestwick House. So I've been working here for about 25 years and have been able to butt into just about every element of working on in our business.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. And my name is Kyle Mitzner. If you don't know me, Vice President of Customer Success here with HawkSearch. One of the most interesting and cool things that we get to do in the customer success department is work closely with both our customers, of course, but also our product team and any new innovations that we have coming out. And that's why I love customer success. And with that in mind as well, Keith, I wanted to congratulate you and thank you very much for being a customer of Bridgeline and a partner of Bridgeline for over 12 years now. So it's an incredible milestone. We appreciate you and your team very, very much. Now I'm relatively new compared to that number, Keith. So can you give us any insights to the experience of 2013 to now?
Yeah, well, we've been working with you guys for a long time as we shift around and kind of developed from an old, very flat kind of website to the experience we have now. So we work closely with your team, and it's always been a great experience.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. And hopefully we'll get another 12 years in. So, uh, and just on that note, can you give us just a high level, quick history on Prestwick House in general? Any insights that you can give there?
Sure. Well, Prestwick House is an educational publisher and distributor of materials for high school English teachers. So we work really with customers all around the country. We've been around for about 40 years. Historically, we've been a kind of a catalog company. And then when we talked about things about 12 years ago, we were really working on trying to shift away from being just this kind of print catalog that comes out, I don't know, once every 3 or 4 months to really having a presence the whole time. So the shift in our direction has always been from being a one-off go ahead, buy something transactional piece to really trying to have a living universe for it here. So working with you has really been a nice job to get to that point.
That's fantastic. And it's really interesting to hear about sort of the evolution of Prestwick House. And can I ask what would be a driving force? Let's say we did want to, you guys wanted to change something with prestwickhouse.com. What would be a driving force to make that change?
Yeah, well, we're always trying to make tweaks, make changes as we go along here. It's always a lot of different things to keep an eye on. We try to think of ourselves primarily as an e-commerce site. So anything we can do to help streamline that process of getting from you're on our website to getting you closer to that product purchase. So we're just constantly looking at that, trying to make that shift in here. And then we're also looking at trying to develop new ways to get people onto our website. And so just that flow from, hey, what's interesting on here to let's make a purchase. So
Awesome. Awesome. And I know you've been through probably a few different iterations of search on Unbound. I know we've had a few different versions of it. The last one was Elasticsearch. And since then, we've built an integration to HawkSearch. And um, so just with that in mind, what did make you decide to upgrade to HawkSearch from, I believe you were on Elastic before.
We've actually had a
Yeah.
kind of a long history of playing with different types of search tools. Um, our we used to work with a company, totally different company, external process in there, and it worked pretty well. It was a nice service. It really was a better than kind of out of the box search solution. But when HawkSearch moved in, we got to test that against it, and we found that people were interacting better. They were getting closer to the products as we go through here. And then we're really excited about this new process with the AI search. It's only been live for a few weeks now. And so far, everything's been working really smoothly in it. So we have a really large number of products. And that's always that big challenge for us is I think we have about 10 to 15,000 different products, depending on exactly when we are looking at it. And the challenge is we have a lot of different teaching resources for like a specific novel. So, for example, To Kill a Mockingbird, very popular book. Most of the viewers here probably read that when they were in high school. But we have about 105 different teaching approaches to this. So when you just do a keyword search, you're ending up with this blank list of just here's 105 different products. Good luck, dig through it. So
Yeah.
we're really excited to have a little bit more granularity and trying to get some natural language use to say, okay, I'm looking for this type of approach.
Yeah. That's actually really interesting. And we'll get to see that live in a bit here. But the fact, and it's kind of a really unique use case too, is having so many essentially the same product. They're kind of like variants, but they're not variants because they actually are different. So that's really unique and really interesting. And it's really cool that we were able to, and we're continuing to resolve for some of those use cases. Can you tell me? What typically generates more revenue if we're thinking of like user interactions on the site, like search or non-search interactions?
100% search.
Yeah,
I wish I had the exact numbers for you on here, but unfortunately, Google Analytics, the change over to GA4 made it a little bit less easy for us to track the exact numbers on there. But I believe
yeah,
people were about 4 or 5 times more likely to purchase when they went through the search process rather than just kind of poking around aimlessly. And, again, it's also just that quick. There's no place to get lost in that process from, hey, I'm looking for on here Gulliver's Travels book on here.
yep,
We can get you directly to that checkout procedure and get you moving over towards a purchase as quickly as possible.
yep.
Yeah, that's
Fantastic.
generally one of the things that we consistently hear is that search really does drive move the needle on conversions, and it really is one of those things. It's one of the things I love about kind of how you guys have deployed Hawk Search is really emphasizing that search. It's front and center when you first come to the homepage. It's right there. I think you guys are not only leveraging the tool from the perspective of helping drive the good results there, but you're doing the right work on the front end as well of emphasizing search as you identify this as a primary mover of that needle. Let's make sure that we're putting that front and center of our users when they hit that site. Search isn't buried behind a box. It isn't up in the right hand corner. It's front and center. It's just great UI there to help really lead people into that experience.
We worked with you guys on a full site redesign maybe a year and a half ago, and really that was one of the primary pieces was to make sure that search button was always kind of front and center on there. So no matter where you ended up on our page, you were able to get to that search button and find something relevant to you as quickly as possible.
Awesome. And can I ask, I think on this little screenshot here, is that that campaign, hopefully that's coming from HawkSearch there at the top of the results?
Yep,
Awesome.
that's what you're
Yeah,
seeing here.
yeah. I wasn't actually sure, but I figured after I was looking at the image for a little bit here. But that's great. And we'll move on because one thing that's really important is even outside of search is just, how do we adopt and how do we make sure the user experience, more and more these days, search is becoming really a core pillar of e-commerce or CMS or whatever it might be. But search is really starting to take over a little bit on the front end, just in general. But what's probably the most important, or what would you say is the most important aspects of your user experience on your site?
Well, like I said, we always kind of think of ourselves as an e-commerce first website. What you're actually seeing here is one of our lead magnet pages in here, where we're giving away free materials because, as I mentioned, we sell materials to teachers, and oftentimes they're not in a buying mode most of the time. They have kind of set budgets in here. So we're trying to make our page something that's interesting in here. This is a series of kind of free lesson plans that we offer. But when you get to that point, we have that search right up front and center. We try to tie those in with
Mhm.
products. And really, from an overall user experience standpoint, our goal is to get you to a place that you have one target action to do in here, whether it's kind of after you click on this page and you found a material for Christmas Carol, for example. We try to get you over to that process of purchasing, and trying to see a actual product in here. So there's always this I think it was a Seth Godin line about there's like kind of one key banana you always want to put in front of somebody and say there's a
One keep
button
that.
I want
I
to
love
push
it.
and let's make it really stand out. Sometimes that's search. If we know the page is like really broad, we want that
Mhm.
search button to be the first thing that they act on. Sometimes it's like, okay, you're on our really already a targeted page, maybe you got to it from search, or just landed on that page, and we get you over to that product and get you closer to that purchase.
Awesome. One thing, I don't even know if we've had the chance to speak about this yet, Keith, but I think you've seen maybe some of our smart response functionality and scanning PDFs and being able to return information from that PDF, which is pretty cool. So maybe one thing that we can take away is to explore that a little bit further at some point here, because I'm not sure how many of these PDFs you actually have on your site, but I'm sure that could be a pretty cool use case.
Yeah, we've always kind of put the products as the center of the search in there, but we've
Yeah.
kind of explored ideas of how to get the rest of the content people might want to use in here. But again, our path of trying to drive people over towards that e-commerce site has left us
Yeah.
focused really mostly so far on the e-commerce element of it. But we've definitely had a few conversations about trying to get access to the other content and make that kind of distinct while still being an e-commerce focused site.
Excellent. Excellent. And moving along here, Keith, this is more of a general question, and every site, every customer of HawkSearch, everyone has different trends or interactions from their users to the site itself. I was just kind of curious, what trends are you seeing in search or on your site or with your users, just in general?
Yeah. Well, our teachers are still kind of primarily thinking of the search from a maybe a more of like a keyword oriented search where they're searching for a specific product. But we're seeing that shift away from what we had historically seen, which is like, okay, I've got a purchase order in front of me, I'm going to type in the item code and go directly to that product, to being a little bit more kind of poking around in there, searching. It is still kind of like I said, a little bit more of a keyword search process.
Mhm.
What I'm hoping to do is educate our customers a little bit more into being able to explore a little bit deeper in there, and try to figure out ways to do something like the search you had before, where it was a search about travel books for students, for
Mhm.
children in there, rather than just, hey, I'm looking for Huckleberry Finn. Go for it. So that's one of our next really big pushes on there, is try to get that a little bit broader.
Excellent. And one other question here is, I know that we got concept search working alongside keyword search for this unified or hybrid experience on your site. And we'll talk about that in just a second. I was just wondering if you've thought about how to like start educating customers on how to use or make the most use of that search.
Yeah, we've actually just been talking about trying to create some blog posts to encourage people to
Yeah.
try a few different types of searches, maybe make it a little bit of fun to try to see what the AI pulls up in here. Do some campaigns about education. I know you had kind of mentioned in passing some tools as well that
Mhm.
are possible in there. So I was curious to hear what you had thought about that.
Yeah, so actually one thing one of our customers is doing is in the search bar itself, they kind of have like this scrolling, it'll be making recommendations on how to search. It'll sort of change all the time. And that's actually a really powerful way. And Jonathan, do you have any other Any other insights here, actually?
It's interesting because it's a little bit of you need to train your users, and then also just kind of like the cultural shift of people understanding that this is now not functionality limited
Hmm.
to just like Google. I think even Amazon's struggling with this. If you look at kind of their current experience, it's they're kind of trying to um, emphasize that you can put in more natural language in there, but I don't think people have really made that switch in that environment there. Where if you go to someone like Google, obviously everyone expects I can just put in whatever and it's going to spit back out what I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
so part of that is just kind of that expectation of as the rest of the industry matures and evolves, that will just become kind of like, oh, I can search this way, however, on whatever site that I'm on. The distinction, and one of the reasons that we're really excited that people like Keith and Prestwick House have taken advantage of this, is it puts you kind of like Ari was talking about. It puts you in front of the pack there. You are not lagging behind then as people come to the site and just don't think about it and put in a longer tail, more natural language, more concept based search, and then get zero results. Like, oh wait, no, yeah, I'm on a commerce site. I need to search differently here. It's that natural evolution of like, oh no, I did this search, found what I was looking for. And it also just, again, to that point you're mentioning there, Kyle, we're really exploring a couple of different ways to put some information into the search box so that when someone lands on the site, not only are they seeing the search box and saying, the classic kind of just search dot 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 in that box there, it'll be things like, hey, search this way, search this other way, search on these terms, to really help provide some guidance in terms of what the user can then be aware of how they can search. So part of it's just going to be
Absolutely.
natural learning, like everyone's just kind of absorbing that and learning this is how people now search online, and part of it is being
Mhm.
part of that front of the pack and providing some training on the site as well through some UI elements.
We've actually
Absolutely.
already even found some different use cases from we've been live for a few weeks now. And
Mhm.
one of the first things we found was some of the old keyword-oriented searches have been kind of buried down a little bit in there. So we're already working with our team to make some edits to kind of boost up the we have a subset of users that are basically people whose job is just to enter in orders for their
Mm,
school district. They don't do any shopping. They don't know what the difference between Huckleberry Finn and Frankenstein are. So they only have a piece of
Mhm.
paper from them that says, I want 3021551 to
mhm.
really streamline that process in there. So we're already talking with the team about kind of making some edits so that when you type in an exact product code, you get directly to that product and skip over those. So you guys are nice and ability to kind of make those changes pretty quickly on the fly.
And I think that's one of the cool things about this approach that we're taking here, where we're talking about obviously the trends in search, and we're talking about how we can train people. The important thing for from our perspective, from Hawk Search's perspective, is we wanted to deliver on all of this kind of forward-facing, future-looking technology, but we don't want to lose the past. We don't want to lose the ability for someone to come to the site and put in those kinds of UPC, ISBN numbers and find what they're looking for, or do like kind of a
Mhm.
Tom Sawyer, two keywords, hit enter and get back in the results. So we still need to support those experiences. We still want to then be looking towards where we're going with that. So Keith, that's really kind of you're preaching to the choir here in that regard of like, we want to make sure we're not losing sight of where we came from and that functionality that is just expected. You can't throw out kind of, the kitchen sink to make sure that we're suddenly building a whole new kitchen here. It is the idea of let's evolve that, let's upgrade that, let's put in new plumbing basically, and keep everything working the way that you would expect. Although I would read Huckleberry Finn crossed with Frankenstein. That seems like one of those great mashup novels like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies,
Mashup novel, yeah.
right? Like let's get working on that as our next project here.
There you go. We'll chat with John and see what he can do for us. Awesome. Now this is we're getting very close. I promise you, everyone who's watching, we're very close to an actual live demo here. A couple more slides that we'll get through, but this one is probably my favorite one in the whole slide deck here. Uh, and we also have a bit of an advantage because we've been developing your CMS and your e-commerce for 12 years, Keith. But there's a really cool story here because we were just excited to show you our new features, and we had just spun up. You're already using HawkSearch. We had spun up sort of a second front end for you, and we're just like, hey, look at this. This is really cool. And then the next thing you know, we're basically going live. So, can you just let us know a little bit about that?
Well, it was like you said, it was pretty remarkable. I think you called me on like a Thursday and said, "Hey, I've got a demo. I want to show you what we're doing in here," and
Mhm.
it pretty much worked out of the box. You guys had kind of thrown this demo in front of us and said, "Hey, is this something that looks like it's going to work?" And we were really happy with what we saw in there. Tried to break it in a couple different ways, weren't able to, and you said, um, hey, we can move pretty quickly on go live. I'm like, okay, great. What are we going to do? Paperwork for 4 months and then 3 months of user experience
Yep.
testing, and it was ready within under a week. It was basically almost instant turn on. So
Yeah.
it's you know time to market measured in almost hours rather than in weeks.
Yeah. Pretty cool story there. And I think you hold the current record for concept hybrid search to go live. So I'm not sure if it's going to be beaten, but we'll see. We'll see.
We can definitely
Um,
try.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I'll pass it over to you in just a
Yeah.
second here. We have this is what we're going to be demonstrating. So we have keyword search and concept search all built into one search bar on prestwickhouse.com. And Keith, image search is coming as well for your site, but we'll focus just on keyword and concept search to form hybrid search. So Jonathan, if you don't mind, can you show us
Yeah, let me
some
go ahead
live
and
examples here?
share my screen here for this. So one of the things there that I love that you kind of shared that slide there as kind of the handoff point there, because this really does break down what is the search box now actually doing here for Prestwick House. As we were talking about, we're still supporting kind of the classic keyword search that you would anticipate. We're still making sure that that is something that your visitors can come into. They can do Romeo and Juliet. They can do Huckleberry Finn. We can find what they're looking for. But the benefit here is that we're rolling in that large language model, that concept search that was also on that last slide there, so that your visitors now don't need to know, oh, I want to search this way, I want to search that way. It is literally just a search box. They can come in and they can throw in whatever they're looking for and find what they're looking for. So some really quick examples of that here to kind of put the proof in the pudding. We're on prestwickhouse.com right now. Lovely site. As we've been talking about here. And let's go ahead and just do a real quick search here just to kind of demonstrate some of the basics there of what this kind of concept delivery can do for a search term here. So I'm going to do resources for students planning for higher education. So we'll go ahead and do this kind of search here and pull back in the results. And the thing that I love about this, and Keith, you can confirm me on this here, one of the great approaches of this kind of concept search is really kind of doing away with the idea of synonyms almost. It really understands a lot of kind of, you've put in this term, we might not have the exact match in our data for that, but we can understand the conceptually, what does this mean and how does that relate back to our product catalog? So doing resources for students planning for higher education, I didn't input that I was looking for college related material. I said higher education here. And the concept search obviously understood that relationship. We're finding college bound related items here. We're finding SAT prep related items, which is obviously, of course, going to be important for students going to higher education, going on to college there. And this was something that, Keith, from your end and your team, you didn't need to create these relationships. You didn't need to stuff the product data. This was something that concept search solved for, instead of returning in maybe, one or two results here that had higher education somewhere buried in the long description. We're finding those relevant results and kind of returning the proper experience and the proper set of products without you guys having to create a bunch of new rules and identify, oh, this is a search we can see happen. We want to account for that.
Absolutely. We don't have to go dig through those reports that HawkSearch has great lists of reports of like bad search results in here, but this should help us avoid those quarterly dig deep in there to try to figure out if that's a term that people are actually using.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that, Keith, I'm glad you said that. That's actually a really great point that I wanted to highlight here, because this is something that I think one of the main distinctions that is a difference from how we have thought classically about keyword search results versus this new kind of hybrid approach where we're leveraging, embedding models and large language models, and we're really kind of treating the results in a different fashion. It's a difference. It's a fundamental shift in what we're thinking about from the results. From a keyword search, it's always just been, what is the exact match? What is the thing I can show you that matches exactly what you just searched for? With a concept search and a hybrid search, it opens it up and it says, yeah, we want to find what is the best thing that we can see, but we also want to find, well, what are the things that are really close to this? What are the things that are kind of related to this? What are the things that are adjacent to this that you might be interested in? It really eliminates that idea of like a zero results experience. So if we do another search here, let's go ahead and say that I'm looking for, let's do material for teaching The Great Gatsby in high school. Go ahead and put that kind of result. And as you were talking about earlier, you have a lot of different things that are related to The Great Gatsby. So when someone does a search for The Great Gatsby, well, how do we prioritize those results? In this case here, again, understanding that you have material for teaching, that is telling us, yeah, we want the teaching units, we want the activity packs, we want the book and AP teaching unit, the lit plan. Like, again, it understands more conceptually that these are things that are related to the idea of, I want to be teaching this book for this kind of an age range and prioritizing the results that match against this. Again, you guys didn't need to set up any kind of synonyms for this. You didn't need to be looking at the reporting for, is this a good result? Is this a bad result? We're zeroing right in just by leveraging that embedding model and those large language models to better parse what does this mean and how does this relate to your product catalog. And something else, Kyle, that I don't think we got a chance to mention, not only was the way that we were able to get so quickly to, time to go live with this, where like Keith, you were talking about, it was like a week or so. Part of the benefit there is that from the HawkSearch perspective, this isn't a whole new set of data that we need to build out. We're using the existing data that was already being powered by HawkSearch. We're just kind of extending that functionality. So you guys didn't need to give us, oh, hey, here's a whole new list of product data. Here's an embedding model that we need to get. Like, we've got that all kind of sorted out. It's just an extension of that existing product catalog that we're already using. We're just running it through different methods to deliver this. So it doesn't require any big lift on your guys' end from Prestwick House there to say, hey, we want to take advantage of this functionality. Okay, now we need to build out a whole data feed. Now we need to build out all these other resources. No, we're just going to use the exact same information that we already had. We're just looking at it differently.
And that does.
And Jonathan, I think it was
tuning.
6 days. Oh, sorry, Keith.
6 days.
6 days, including the weekend, though.
Yeah. I think you said, can you give us the go ahead on a Friday? And I said, I need to have my Monday morning meeting. The 11 o'clock meeting.
Ready, Keith? Yeah. Yeah.
But it does also, you'd mentioned the kind of using our existing database. It does take into account some of the things that we do to tune things as well. So if we have like a new product that people aren't as familiar with, I can go ahead and keep boosting those products up there. So hopefully that'll kind of filter out in the long run and be, okay, this is a popular product and whatnot. So they don't just get buried in there. So we do have all those abilities that were in the keyword search as well.
Yeah, Keith, that's a great call, because that is another one of the big benefits of how we were talking earlier about how we don't want to throw out the entire kitchen, when we're doing this remodel and we're changing out the plumbing here. All of that kind of merchandising that you're talking about, we created a boost rule, we created a bury rule. We're leveraging some of the machine learning, the automation that's in the tool there. We wanted to create an item pinning. That all still carries over into these responses here. We're not throwing out any of the kind of existing merchandising that you guys have been taking advantage of. We're just layering in this better understanding of, well, what do these results actually mean to drive those results there? So yeah, really great call out there as well. I know we're coming up here on time, but I want to give a couple of really quick examples. One of the fun ones that we've seen here, that idea of understand that fundamental shift of what does this mean from a keyword search versus a concept search, and rolling those into one. What does that mean? I was talking about how it's less of we wanted to just deliver the exact match, but all the adjacent things. So the fun one that I've been playing around with here is doing a search for the Scarlet Letter, but I've been putting in the wrong author instead of putting in Nathaniel Hawthorne, continuing the idea of the Great Gatsby. If we do a search for the Scarlet Letter by Fitzgerald, meaning F. Scott Fitzgerald, we are then finding the relevant results here for this. It is finding both of these products. It is not just saying, okay, well, there is no Scarlet Letter by Fitzgerald. Here's 0 results. The concept search is saying, okay, you're talking about the Scarlet Letter, you're talking about Fitzgerald. I don't have anything that matches exactly those two things, but here's everything that's kind of related and adjacent to that. So here's the Great Gatsby, here's the Scarlet Letter, and here's all the related kind of items around that. So it's this idea of, okay, this isn't maybe we might have some odd things that pop up here and there, but we're pulling back in better results than 0 results, which would have happened with a classic keyword search for this kind of functionality. Another great thing, I know we're right at the time here, but this is one of the fun ones that we see more and more here, is this idea of a copy-paste search. So someone being on like Amazon and being like, oh, hey, this is the product that I was looking for. I'm just going to copy the entire thing here and drop this into the search box on another site.
Big no-no on keyword.
Yes, exactly.
Big no-no. Yeah.
Just so much information. This would always break a keyword search, but that copy-paste searching with this new kind of hybrid model, again, because it's less concerned about, well, what is the exact match that I can drive here, but more of what are the things that I can say, hey, this is a really close match, and here are all the relevant things around that. Again, putting in that huge, long copy from Amazon, we are finding the relevant results for these. So very exciting stuff here. Kyle, I know we have just a couple quick slides that I'll pass it back to you to wrap up.
Oh, sure. Yep, absolutely. I know we're essentially at time here. I'll share the presentation, the deck, if you guys can see that. If you guys want, I know we only have a minute left, but feel free to scan this and you can get a free on-site search audit. And finally, the in-person customer summit is going to be announced very, very soon for fall 2025. Keith, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. And everyone have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of the sessions.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Keith.
Bye now. Thanks.
Bye.